Hey guys, we have here the Jabra Evolve2 65, and in case the battery of your headset doesn't last very long anymore or it doesn't even charge at all, then it may be time to replace the battery. So in this video we're going to show you how to do this in step-by-step instructions. And in case you're trying to find a place where to order the replacement battery, then we're going to post a link in the comment section below. The battery is located in the right ear cup, so that's the one that we're trying to open up. And the first step here is to remove the ear pad, and this is really easy by just pushing your fingers right into this gap between the ear pad and the plastic, and it will relatively easy pop off. Underneath there we're going to find this sticker that goes all around the ear cup, and this button has a couple of symbols regarding the button functionalities printed on them. And there are three locations where we have to remove this sticker, or at least partially remove them. So you see right next to the plus symbol. We're going to peel this off carefully here with my nail file. Then underneath you're going to find a screw. So this is a Torx 6 screw head, so a T6, that's what we're going to need. So I'm going to fold this up a little bit. I'm not going to remove the entire sticker. Of course, in case you feel like it, you can just remove the entire sticker. At least for me, it's not like I've ever even noticed this sticker to be there in the first place. So now, as I said before here, this is a Torx 6 screw head, so that's how we're going to remove this little screw here. Then there's a second screw just to the left of the USB-C charging port, and the third screw is located again on the top. When you're trying to find the screws, all you have to look for is actually those three little holes that are inside of that sticker. So that's how you can really easily find them. You can probably even just stick your screwdriver right through that hole and pull out the screws that way without even removing the sticker at all. Now in order to actually open up the ear cup, I'm again using here my little nail file, and I'm prying in right next to this little hole that you find by the power switch. And you can sort of pry this up a little bit, and you're going to find two little tabs. So one here on the right side, see this here, this tab, and then on the opposite side there's another one. It's located right there. So if we just wiggle this cover here a little bit, then you can relatively easily take this off. But just be really careful when you do that, because there's a small and really short wire going to the transducer here. So you see the black and the red wires. So make sure you don't accidentally pull on them, because otherwise these are going to definitely going to rip off. So you want to be really careful and not put too much tension on those wires. Okay, now the battery is located underneath the PCB here, so we have to pry this loose. There's no screws that hold the PCB in place, so just carefully pop it off. You may find a small clear plastic piece lying around someplace in the ear cup. Nothing to worry about, just make sure not to lose that. Here, this is that piece that I'm talking about. Now of course we see here already the battery, but before we remove that we have to be really careful again here with those small ribbon cables. Again, you don't want to put too much strain on these cables here, otherwise they may rip out of the connectors. Not a really big problem, we just put them back in later. Now first thing we do now is to disconnect the battery from the PCB. Relatively easy if you use some tweezers. And then we're going to use something to pry loose the battery. So the battery is glued onto the ear cup. So carefully go underneath there. Just really have to be careful because of the ribbon cables that are also located underneath the battery here, of course, and also a little bit glued on there. So really make sure not to accidentally damage those two ribbon cables. Those are really important. So one of them is for the microphone and the other one should be for the button that's on the side of the ear cup. Now here we get a good look at where the ribbon cables actually go to, and you can also see how they are also glued into position. So now we have removed the original battery. You can see here now the label. So in case you're looking for a replacement, this is the model number that you want to look for. And this is a 3.8 volt 450 milliamp hours battery. After gluing the new battery into position, of course we have to reconnect this to the PCB. It's a really small connector, so this is a little bit of a pain. Just make sure when you do this have the connector the right orientation. You see here the cables on the one side that you can see. This is going to actually face the PCB, and then the contacts, the metal contacts, those are going to face us when we are going to plug this in. And now I do have to reconnect the two ribbon cables because those eventually became loose. So there's this little black lever at the end of those ports. So you just switch up those levers. So see this? Just flip them up. Now this opens up the connector. And then all we have to do is take the ribbon cable and push this right into the opening as far as it goes. And then in order to lock it in place, just flip down the switches and the ribbon cable should stay in place. And now that we reassemble everything, we have to take care of this little plastic piece that we found earlier. So this actually goes into that little tiny hole that you find between the hole for the USB-C charging port and the power switch. See, this thing goes right in there. And then right next to the battery you find these little two plastic pins. That's where we're going to clip the other end of that plastic piece into. So it's good to use some tweezers here. Just to line them up, and then you push it down and eventually it will go into position. It's not really sturdy in there, so as we are trying to reinstall the PCB in a second, this may fall off several times. So by far the next couple of minutes are going to be the most painful of this entire job. Now, without the little plastic piece still in place, first thing I'm going to do now is line up the USB-C charging port with the hole for it. So the port doesn't really go in there at all. You just kind of line it up and see that it is at the correct location. Then next we're going to take a look at the power switch. So first of all, make sure that the switch on the PCB is in the off position, and also the switch on the outside, that plastic piece, has to be in the off position. And then take a look at the other three switches that we have here on the side. So the volume up and down and the play pause button. So we want to make sure to install these correctly. And of course those three buttons constantly are trying to fall into the inside of the ear cup. So I'm going to again use here my little nail file to kind of push them towards the outside so that we can eventually squeeze the PCB board next to them. And once that is done, you also have to make sure that the mute button here on the top also lines up correctly. That mute button is actually not a big issue, that kind of stays in place, and so is the power button. Now it's also a good time to check that the LED here on the side actually works perfectly, and the little white piece didn't fall out while we were trying to bring the PCB back in. And now let me show you exactly what we're looking for in terms of those switches. So you have to make sure that the PCB is not sitting on top of one of those, but they are actually right next, the buttons are actually right next to the PCB, and that's how you can push the PCB all the way down. At this point it's also a good idea to check the two small cables here that go to the transducer. Make sure those are still soldered onto the board and didn't accidentally detach. And also you want to make sure that all the buttons at this point work perfectly. Now it's time to close the ear cup all the way back up, and of course you put the screws back in. As we're tightening them, always consider that we're screwing here a metal screw into a little piece of plastic. So do stop once the screw is tight enough, don't overdo it and accidentally damage the plastic threads. And now last step of course here is to reattach the ear pad. Make sure you have to have the right orientation, and then all we have to do here is to just clip it on. Just line it up correctly and give it a little push. It should click into position. And when we check this here on the side, the gap should be even everywhere. Okay, so and now this is already it. Now give us a last check that the battery works again, that the headset starts up again. We're going to charge the battery and we're ready to go. Yeah, I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any more questions or comments, then please leave a message below. And if you liked the video, then give me a thumbs up.